Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Radio Ramadan, Wolverhampton, Ramadan Radio Wolverhampton, I should say. Um, this is the legal clinic with me, Ajaz Ali, and today I will be talking about the property market, conveyancing, and the recent stamp duty changes implemented after the March 2024 budget. So it looks to be an interesting show. I may have a guest coming on as well, but let's see. If not, then I'm sure I can keep you guys entertained, and you guys can always call in and ask any questions. The number to call is 01902 972 150. That's 01902 972 150. And if anyone wants to WhatsApp their questions, you can always text via WhatsApp on the our WhatsApp number, which is 07440 420 432. I'll repeat that again: 07440 420 432. So the reason I decided to do a show on the property market is there's a lot of turbulence in the market at the moment, um, and I believe there's a lot of people who don't understand how it's going, don't understand, well, what are the changes, what, when the chancellor announced in the budget, certain changes in relation to stamp duty, certain changes in relation to even capital gains. So I thought, well, let's have a little discussion on that and see if we can help educate our listeners and viewers. So just turned up now is Zaid Shah. Bear with me a second. What mic are you, Zaid?
Mike 4.
Four?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
You got me?
I've got you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
I'm alright, I'm alright. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, who else? Who else is there doing nothing?
Oh, okay. I thought you were I thought you were inviting
You
a
thought you were
pretty face.
privileged.
I thought you were inviting a pretty face there. Yeah. No,
So
thank you very much.
no, thanks for coming on. I knew you were you were going to be on the show after me. I think you and Elvina are on the show after, aren't you?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we're going to be talking about a few things related to e-farmer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil your thunder, but
Oh yes, no,
yeah,
but I understand it's your daughter's new venture, isn't it? So
yeah, it is. Yeah.
okay, well, I won't discuss that on this show because you got half an hour to discuss that with Alvina later.
Yeah, yeah.
So my I was wondering whether you would have any questions for me. To be fair, in relation, because obviously my background is property related. I think you know whether it's a property business or whether it's the conveyancing. My firm, we undertake a lot of conveyancing, a lot of landlord tenant work as well. So and commercial stuff. So I was hoping that you could help in raising a few queries which I could address, and also um, in the in between, hopefully, if people are listening and people are awake and people are wish to
Call in.
call in or
Yeah.
press those buttons and message their queries across,
Mm.
we can address them and discuss them as well. So anyhow, first and foremost, I think, do you know anything about the budget? What happened in the budget?
Um, no, I wouldn't say I'm an expert on it, but um,
Well, one major thing for the property market,
yeah.
in my opinion, is there used to be or there is, I should say, multiple dwellings relief, which a lot of people took advantage of, and a lot of people could have taken advantage of and didn't take advantage of because either their legal counsel they did not advise them correctly, or they didn't actually know about it, or how it works. So multiple dwelling relief is when a property that you are purchasing has more than one dwelling. I you've probably heard houses with granny flats, etc. Or a little separate area for the parents, or for whatever reason, a separate, well, as I said, a separate area. So if there's another flat or something that can become a flat, independent of the house, attached to the house, or even inside the house, as long as it can be made independent, that could have attracted multiple dwelling relief. Now, obviously, the chancellor has realised that you know millions millions of pounds have they've missed out on, the government have missed out on, by that relief being in place. Now, because of that, in his speech, he's abolished the multiple dwelling relief as of the 1st of June 2024. So, which will be a hit for people who are buying, large houses where they want to live themselves and sometimes want, a separate area for other family members, etc. Um, and that will, you know, that saved people thousands, absolutely thousands. I know someone who saved, I think, 40 or thousand because of the relief. Which now, if they're buying now or if they're buying after June, they won't save. In fact, if they have now, well, they can if they've already exchanged. If they exchange before that speech, then and the purchase doesn't take place after June, then they still get it. But if they've not exchanged, then they have till the 1st of June to complete. Um, I don't know whether that was of any interest to you, or whether that went over your head, or
No,
what.
no,
But
it
what?
no, it is. It is of an interest. It's just it's a shame because the budget, it's actually done for us, isn't it? Right,
Yes,
for us people.
yes.
But uh, but then there's only a few like yourself who actually talk about it and read about it. I mean, I've had a little bit look. I mean, there's a lot of benefits for single parents, and so on and so forth that will help, right? But when you look at on tax cuts for employees, yeah,
Mhm.
there's going to be helping people with the cost of living, which is great because obviously the cost of living isn't it's rising every day, isn't it?
Yeah.
And supporting the reform of the NHS, which you and I know definitely needs a massive reform because there's a lot of issues going on there.
Yeah.
Just to give you an example, just gastro to see a gastroenterologist, you're looking at 18-month waiting list.
Mm.
So by the time you get to there, if you've got some serious illness, by the time you get to him, you're almost dead, aren't you? Right, sort
On
of thing.
yeah.
So this is, things like that. Helping working parents. See, people aren't looking at this budget. It's a very interesting budget, and what you've just mentioned, it just shows that I think you're wasted as a as a solicitor judge.
Oh, thank you.
I think you should be out there working as a business consultant to businesses.
To
Especially in the area of housing. What do you think?
to be fair, I I'm happy with what I'm doing. I enjoy the legal work. I enjoy.
Listen. I'm not trying to say you're not a you're an excellent lawyer. I mean, I've
Thank
got
you.
first-hand experience. Your advice is always brilliant. But even in this area, it's really good. Now, I do want to ask you a few questions. Are you am I allowed to ask you some business techie questions if you don't mind?
Go on. This show, I do want to make it more than just a legal show. I want
Yeah.
to make it a business show. I feel I have
Do you know business is
sufficient.
one of your biggest strengths? I don't think
You
people
think so?
know. I think it is. I think
Okay.
massive. I know you've got a legal firm. Again, that's your business. But I think as a business advisor and somebody who understands business, I think you do knock yourself. Am I seeing this head swelling up here? No, no, seriously, you are. You're a good businessman, and I do want to ask you a question around that now.
I would give credit to my father.
No, no,
I would give credit to my father
I
there.
have met your father,
'Cause,
and he has taught you well. But I mean,
years ago, I did a course in business, and when I was at college, this is so I went to do a course in business, and my dad did turn around and say, with after a few swear words, he turned around and said, if business is what you want to learn, you're not going to learn it in that college.
absolutely,
Come work with me. I'll teach you more business than those people there can teach you. And and he was right. He was right. There's much I learned from him, much I knowledge I gained from him whilst working with him, um, and much business knowledge, and then developed on that as well. So, but I still learn. I believe I'm learning every day, learning something new every day. So that's in business you have to evolve with the times.
yeah. No, 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 no. You're right, and you do evolve, and you also give good advice on that as well.
I try. I try. The thing about me is if uh, um, another thing, my between the head and the tongue, there's my filter is very weak. So if something comes into the head, I don't think, oh, don't say it. I just say it. So sometimes people will like me for it. Sometimes people will hate me for it. But I do just say it. If I feel that there's something you're doing something wrong, I'm sure I've said stuff to you which you probably didn't like, but that's me. So
I think uh, people who want to develop,
mm,
they listen,
yes,
yeah, and they take criticism on board as a positive.
you have to.
You have to, and the ones who don't take criticism on board, they're not successful. Now, can I? I mean, I remember you advising a couple of guys in my family,
Hmm.
and you're a very successful businessman. And one of the guys you were advising, he was trying to advise you, and he's got no business experience. And the other one was actually listening to.
Taking everything on board.
He was taking everything on board,
Hmm.
and the one who was taking everything on board was actually the one who's about 7, 8 years younger,
Hmm.
right, in that
Oh, out of
conversation,
the two.
out of the two.
Okay.
But you wouldn't believe that, would you? Right?
No, 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 no. Not saying that they don't look younger, but just I'm saying that yeah, the way. Look, not everyone's built to do business, is it? Not
The,
everyone.
the,
The, look, the system is such that everyone may think that they can do well in business, but not everyone is that great in business. Not everyone has got the business acumen. Um, or the knack to do business. Some people are happy, working for others. Some think, no, um, I need my own thing. So with me, I always wanted my own thing, and I, I never want to work for anyone. So that's, as I said, learn from everything, all your experiences. Learn from others' experiences. If you not just learn from your own, learn from others' experiences. So
absolutely.
if you can learn from others' experiences, then there's less. You will. There's not one businessman or woman who hasn't faced failure.
Yeah,
If they've not faced failure, in my opinion, they're not a business person, right? Every business has ups and downs. So those who can take it on the chin and move on, those are the ones that will be successful.
absolutely. I agree with you. And the next couple of questions I want to ask you, I'm hoping that there's people actually listening to the next few because um, if they are, they will seriously benefit. Now, my my question to you is purely going to be based around um, how to build a property portfolio.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is something. I know, I know you don't want to brag about, because you're a humble guy, and you know, um, if let's say for example somebody wants to be a Ajaz Ali, doesn't boy or girl, right? Who want to go into this kind of field of developing properties, and build a property portfolio.
Hmm.
Um, I'm going to make life a little bit easier for you, and they've got a house or a property, and there's some equity in that property. What advice would you give to a, you know, prospective uh, portfolio builder to do with that equity? How could they utilize that equity, and how would you advise them to do that?
You're saying if they have equity in their current house,
Yeah.
they want to take that equity
Hmm.
and utilize it on investment.
Yeah, but
Okay.
how? But what I want to know from you is how much equity do they need? Say, let's say for
It depends.
go on.
See, your question is quite broad.
It is broad, yeah.
Your question is quite broad because equity it depends on how much equity they have. Say, let's go with 100K for now. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, say if they have 100K of equity, which they want, which they can easily release
yeah,
from whatever their house, etc. Um, or they have it lying there. Now, with 100 grand, what can you do? That's what your question is. In the property market, what can you do? It depends what you want to achieve. Some people would be happy with saying, okay, let's try and find a cheap house for, maybe up Stoke Way for about 80 odd grand, do it up and do it up for 20 grand, 100 grand house, and they're happy with that, and then rent that out. And then what they can do, that's definitely one way of growing as well. So they rent that out, then they refinance that, take the equity out of that, take the 80 odd percent out of that, 70, 88%, whatever they're allowed to, take that out, then utilize that on the next project. However, because they've spent that 20 odd grand, that house will therefore more than likely not be worth the 100, it'll be worth what, 120? Yeah?
yeah.
120, 130 maybe. So when they take that equity out, they're basically taking the 100 grand back out. Yeah?
Okay.
And they've got a house there, which is on rent, which then the rent should be paying, with the increases, rental increases nowadays, the rent should be paying off the mortgage.
Yeah,
And then they've got the 100 grand again to do the same again.
yeah. And the banks will be quite happy to
On
lend
a
on.
buy to let, yeah,
Yeah, they
they would
will.
be fine as long as there's certain criteria you have to abide by. You first and foremost, um, if you do not own a residential property where you live, then it's slightly harder, but you can still get them. But yeah, so that's one way of you building your portfolio. Buy one, do it up, rent it out, release the 100K back out, buy another, do the same, release the 100K back out, buy another, do the same, release the 100K back out. Question is, how far do you want to take it? Yeah. Then when you're remortgaging, are you remortgaging with um, interest only, or are you remortgaging with repayment? Most property investors would, at this moment, would probably be going for
Yes.
interest only
Yeah.
because you pay back less. And then after, it's a 20, 25-year deal, 30-year deal, whatever it is. At the end of it, you, even if they take the house, you've got the, the uplift in the equity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you sell, then if you've developed, say, 10 houses, 5 you sell, pay them off, your quid's in. There's various ways. The other way, which there's a lot of people in Wolverhampton who are in property. I know quite a few. I think everyone knows Ash.
Yeah.
He used to do up until this year. He used to do a show with me and after me, or was it before me? I forget. Um, now
I,
he
I I heard he's too busy counting his money today.
probably
Yeah.
probably he probably is, or he's probably away on holiday in Dubai or something, right? Um, but he uses many vehicles. You know, I I've never spoken to him on what he does or how he does it, because I think that's personal to him. Um, but or what how big his portfolio is. But I do have some business dealings with him, so I do know some of it. So there's a lot of people doing HMOs. So they buy one property, convert it into a HMO. Now again, there's a lot of regulations that you need to abide by. Not every area you can't have a HMO in every area at the moment. But you get more of a once it's a HMO, say a terraced house. If you make that into HMO, what is it? 2 rooms downstairs, 2 rooms upstairs, is it? Yeah, a terraced 2 bedroom house. Make them into little en suites or what have you. Shared kitchen. You got four rooms there, each rented out for what 450, £500 each. Yeah,
Mm.
that's £2,000 you're getting on a property which, if you just rented it out as a standard house, you'd be getting what 700 is it nowadays?
Probably a bit more. I think you've been quite generous.
Well, you get 700, more than 700 on a 2 bedroom house
Oh no,
nowadays.
2 bedroom house here about 700.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
so 700 on 2 bedroom house, but if you convert it into a HMO, you're getting 2 grand on it.
yeah. My word. That's yeah.
Yeah,
That's really
so
good.
that's another vehicle which people are using to get more.
Rental
Obviously,
income.
yeah.
And
So
and
so
to
it's all about yield there. So you get more yield.
but you're also helping the government as well because they can't find properties for people, can they? So if you're doing that, then in essence you've got two properties in one, haven't you?
Well, yes, no, I see where you're coming from, but the HMOs, there's a demand for HMOs in certain areas.
Mm.
In other areas, there may not be.
Yeah.
We have one in Dudley, not too far away from the hospital,
Yeah.
which is always, we never have an empty room. We got 22 bedrooms there. We never have an empty room,
MashaAllah.
right? The reason for that is all nurses,
Yeah. So
and
they
a lot of them are foreign nurses
yeah. So they're working at the hospital
working at the hospital,
and living there.
living there exactly.
Oh, brilliant.
Obviously, we're providing it's gutted out, everything's fresh. The problem we
I think I've seen it.
you probably have, I'm not sure, but the problem we have, a lot of landlords um, buy a property, do the bare minimum, and want to rent it out. What my opinion is that you should try and make it do the as much as you can to it, so that A, you attract the better type of tenant,
Yeah.
and B, that tenant will then stay there long term. If you are providing mediocre property, someone might be desperate to live there,
Yeah.
but as soon as they find somewhere else, they're gone. So you're losing out on the gap between one tenant and the other tenant. It might be a month, might be 2 months. You lost out on rent. Yes, you're thinking, I don't want to spend much, but if you'd spend that much, a couple of grand extra on the place, you probably would have saved in the long term a lot more.
Makes sense.
That's my opinion, anyway. But I'm not here to tell everyone to do it my way, but that is my way.
Yeah, but your way's been successful.
My way works. My
Yeah.
way works. But I'm not saying the other way doesn't.
Mm.
I'm not saying the other way doesn't. So those people who they
Which
might,
is, which is which is which is more riskier, your way or the other way?
look the other way, by not putting much money into the property, I think you're attracting a lot of um, your target audience is more likely to be DSS tenants. B, you might attract people, I don't know, with alcohol problems, is that the other. Will they always pay you rent? Will you have troubles with the tenant?
That's a big problem, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think it's probably, if you do it up better, you're likely to get more professional tenants, which you can get obviously guarantees for as well. And if you're getting guarantees from parents or from family, then they know that if I don't pay, they've got to pay, and they know that if, oh, I'm not sure what that is, but
How long we got left? Yeah.
4 minutes of this segment, and then is the next one. But some things happen. I'm not sure what.
Okay, let me have a look.
No, it's fine.
Are you okay?
Let it be.
Yeah.
I thought maybe it was a call or something, but
Has somebody put a text in? No.
no.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm hoping that people do are listening because they're getting some very good advice here and guidance. Hopefully, inshallah, we get some people listening. If not, this can go on to Facebook or somewhere along those lines, and people can listen to it there. You know,
Yeah, no, it is live on Facebook at the moment.
I know, but they can actually play
They,
it
they,
back
they
as
can play it back. Yes, yeah.
yeah.
I will be adding it to my Facebook a bit later as well.
I think you should.
Yeah.
It's some valuable free consultancy there.
Well, you know me. It's all about free. But right. So that's two ways I've discussed so far. So one is by using the equity, buying a place,
Yeah,
doing it up, taking the equity out, buying the next one,
yeah,
taking the equity out, buying the next one. That's one way. The other way is by buying HMOs or buying a property and make it into a HMO. And then the other, there's a few other ways which people are investing in property at the moment. There's one you've probably heard of is rent to rent,
yeah,
where people are renting a premises on a lease, maybe a long-term lease, and then again make it into a HMO,
yeah,
and then renting the rooms out. So they're probably renting that place for that £700-800, and then investing the money on that property to make it compliant,
yeah,
and then renting it out for £2,000, and they're making the difference between on the rent. So instead of so the actual landlord gets that £700-800, £1,200. The new person, uh, the tenant stroke rent owner makes the 1,200. So that's another way without having spending much.
yeah,
Um, and that's actually, I know a lot of people who do it, and I know people who with portfolios like that. So they're making money left, right, center by having these portfolios. I think I've got a caller on the line. Bear with
yeah.
me.
Yeah, go on, take it.
Sahil, is that you? Right, he's gone. Right.
Well, was he gonna? He's probably got a few properties as well on his portfolio, knowing Sahil.
Not sure about portfolio, but
How long we got? I'm just
we just got a minute before we go into the break. So
okay.
you're a popular guy.
Not as popular as you. This is it looks like somebody inquiring about some properties.
Oh, okay. Right.
I'll tell you about that later in the break.
Anyway, guys, look, I want to continue this conversation after the break. We've only got a short time. Please, we'll be back in about 5 minutes after the adverts, and I look forward to you guys calling in or WhatsApping your questions. Phone number to call is 01902 972 150. And if you want to WhatsApp your questions, it can be anything in relation to the law. I'm happy to address anything to the best of my knowledge. The WhatsApp number is 07440 420 432. That's 07440 420 432. And inshallah, we will speak to you after the commercial break. Thank you. Allah Hafiz for a short while. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back after the
Assalamu
break. With me is Zaid Shah. I think not many in Wolverhampton don't know him, whether for good reasons or bad reasons, I don't know. Inshallah, for the good reasons. Um, Assalamu alaikum, Zaid. I think you were asking me before the break about property investment.
Yeah,
I think we've developed it into a business show rather than just a legal show. Business and legal, I think they go hand in hand anyway.
they always do.
Yeah. So I explained to you the basic principle of a buy to let.
Yeah, you
You
did.
buy a property, you rent it out, you get the rent.
Yeah,
Hopefully, covers your mortgage, not
yeah.
necessarily. Um, then the other option is buying a property, renting it out, buying a property cheaper, putting money into it, then taking the equity that you put in out and renting it out, etc. Now, there's other um, ways of investing in property. I One of my friends actually messaged me. He's listening into the show, Rahul. Um, he messaged to say, "What about commercial property?" Because he invests heavily in commercial property. In fact, we're undertaking a few. I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but we're undertaking a few conveyances at the moment for him. Um,
Okay, you mentioned conveyancing.
yes.
Am I allowed to?
Yeah, no, go on, go on. What say what
What
you want to say?
conveyancing?
Yes,
It's a big word, right?
yes.
What does it mean? And how do you guys get? When do you get involved with conveyancing as lawyers? And how long does this process take? Um, and how long should it take?
That's four questions. Yeah.
It is four questions,
Right.
but
Let's answer your
it's
first one first.
gone.
Right. The first one is what is conveyancing.
Hmm.
Yeah. So essentially, conveyancing is the legal process of transferring ownership of a property from one person to another.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it involves various legal checks and searches, and to ensure that the property is free from any issues and liabilities. Yeah.
yeah.
That's putting it quite plainly. Um, so you know, I say conveyancers here, conveyancers in Pakistan, India, etc. They call them patwadis, right? Who, but we do checks here, whereas they don't. So so when you go to buy a property, you'll instruct a solicitor to do your conveyancing for you, who will convey the property from that name into your name and make sure that there's no issues in doing so. Make sure there's no liabilities that come with the property and therefore come to sting you later. Um,
Can I just be rude there, interrupt and say, has anything, have you ever come across something that has come back and stung
yes,
somebody?
yes, 100%, 100%. Now, see, conveyancing. Sometimes people say that conveyancing solicitors are, they're not proper solicitors. Whereas I disagree, because they think, oh, it's a process. Yes, it's a process, but there is law. It's a process within the law. So I've got one of my property investors calling me at the moment. Sorry, there's a process within the law. The If you get one element of it incorrect, you will be, you'll jeopardize that transaction, or you'll jeopardize the actual. Once your clients purchase the property, you might have messed something up, which can affect their ownership, or you can affect the and some kind of covenants which which are already on the property. So there's a lot to think about when undertaking conveyancing, and I think conveyancers are actually better. Good conveyancers are better lawyers than a lot of other types of lawyers. Um, Now, you said ever come across an issue? Yes, I came across an issue some years ago,
Yeah.
whereby one solicitor um, was. This is about 7, 8 years ago now. We were dealing with a solicitor Um, now, the property had two sections to it. There's upstairs and downstairs. Now, it was a commercial property, upstairs and downstairs. They were on two separate titles. When the solicitor it came to completion, funds were transferred, but the solicitor has to give an undertaking to, if there's any charge on the property, the solicitor has to give an undertaking to discharge that charge.
Yeah.
The funny thing was that there was a charge on the downstairs, but not a charge on the upstairs.
Okay.
When they gave the undertaking, they did all the undertakings and whatever comes in that form. They didn't include the charge. Solicitor on this end saw that, okay, looked at just the one title, not both. So, oh, there's no charge anyway. Fine, tick, gone. Completion done. That solicitor releases the funds, full funds. Now, bear in mind there was a charge on the property. He didn't repay the charge. He released the full funds to his client. The client did a runner. He owed the bank 120K, but his house is gone, property is gone. I'm going. He did a runner with that money. Now that caused an issue. That caused an issue for my that was my firm that had should have double checked and sent it back. Um, since then we've had, we put so many processes in place. I made sure that no one could miss things like that now, but it came back to bite me. My client didn't lose out because my insurance, that's why we indemnified to up to 3 million. So
Yeah.
my client had his recourse was back to me. I looked at the file and thought to my solicitor, what did you do? There was two titles, you only saw one. Yes, both parties should have seen it. He should have seen it before paying the money to his client, but he didn't. But he washed his hands with it. But as I said, that's why I think good solicitors are important. Um, and it can come back to bite you without the right processes in place.
That's an excellent example. I mean, did you ever get the money back?
No, no. My insurance paid. My insurance paid. So it's cost me in the end because my insurance, quadrupled. But alhamdulillah, I'm still here. I've not had any issues since. That's like 7 years ago now, 7 or 8 years ago. I've not had any issues since. We put that many processes into place. I learned from it.
That's
It was
a
an expensive lesson,
it's an expensive
but
lesson,
I learned from it. And
but it could have been more expensive.
yeah, it could have been. It could
Yeah.
have been. But as I said earlier, it's good to learn from mistakes and grow rather than I could have just put my head down in the sand and buried it there and not got back up. But you know me, I'm still out there. I'm still there, trying to develop business, trying to get more business. I'm networking regularly. So yeah, that's a part and parcel of the legal business. You're indemnified for a reason, although you hope and wish that you don't have a claim. And honestly, I lost so much sleep at that time as well. It was the first time I've ever had a claim. First time I've had to answer to the that many questions from the insurance company. But I'm still here to tell the story, and I'm still here to. And as I said, I've developed from it, and my way of working is different as well. That solicitor is still with me, and he's learned from it as well. A lot of people told me at the time, sack him. A lot of people said to me that the you know you can't keep the person on, but I don't think that way. It was a mistake. Yes, it cost me, but it's developed me better as a person. It's developed him. And he's now the most cautious person that you will ever meet. In fact, he's the one who reins me in now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's.
I think that's good on you. You know
Mm.
that you didn't you wasn't hasty. Just
Well, I'm
got
not. I wouldn't call. I think some of my staff might agree that I'm not your um, average boss. My way of working is quite different to a lot of people's. I let people do what they want as long as the results are there for the firm. So
So you give them a lot of flexibility.
there's a lot of flexibility as long as I'm more focused on the result. If the
Okay.
result's there, fine. If the result's not there, then what you're doing is wrong.
So coming back to conveyancing,
Yes.
right? How long does the process take for your
For a residential house,
for residential house?
residential house can vary. We've done some. If it's just a transfer, you can do it in a few days, a week. Depending on your caseload. If it's although land registry take a long time nowadays. They're taking between 6 weeks to a year and a half. But
What?
to
A
register,
year and a half?
yeah, yeah, depending on the type of matter. Um, the if you're doing a residential purchase, 6 to 12 weeks on average.
Okay.
Um, Now, I was speaking to an estate agent just before I came, actually, and I was asking him how business is, and they do lettings and sales. One of the posher ones in Tetnall, and they said, "Oh, the lettings is busy, but sales isn't." And I said, "Well, that's a surprise because our conveyancing department is very busy, um, but the difference is the lower end of the market is busy still. People are still buying in the lower end, but the higher end has calmed down loads. So, the big houses aren't selling so quickly, but the smaller houses, or buy to lets, and those are still, people are still buying. Um, and as I said, 6 to 12 weeks on average, it's taking the processes. You did have another question on that, and I can't remember what the question was because I went off track. Um, but I'll move on to, because Rahul had mentioned commercial.
Could,
I'll move on to that.
is that the same process conveyancing for?
That's still conveyancing. It's a very similar type of process, yes. But
Must
you have
take
to look at
longer.
no. But you take some of it depends on how quickly the searches come back. Now, currently, for Wolverhampton, we can get the searches back within a week and a half. However, for Walsall, Willenhall, which is just down the road, they're taking 3 weeks minimum. 3 to 4 weeks it takes for the searches to come back. So, that delays the matter itself. Um, but as I said, moving on to Rahul's question about commercial investment. Yes, I, you know, we invest in commercial premises as well, not just residential.
Yeah.
Commercial premises, whether it's garages, whether it's units, we've got units and garages and all types of commercial property, um, or you could be offices. You need to test the water. See, you as long as you do your homework as to is there a demand for in that area for that type of property for rental, then go for it. I'd say go for it as long as the yield is there,
Yeah.
and the yield is what most investors are after. As long as the yield's there, then go for it. So I know people who are investing, further. They live around here, but they invest in Wales, because the yield's there. I know people who invest Stoke, live in Wolverhampton, invest in Stoke, invest in even Durham. Now, Durham properties are very, very cheap in comparison to here or the Midlands. Durham is, you can pick up a property up there for 40, 50, 60 grand.
Seriously.
Yeah, terraced house is more likely, but still, but the return on investment
Is
will be
is
better
is greater. Yeah.
because the rental income will still be 4, 5, 600, £700. It's just that the purchase they'll be cheaper, but then are you a hands-on landlord where if it's local you can do things yourself and look after them yourself, but if it's further afield you have to rely on agents. I'm not saying agents are bad. Some you might find really good agents. Some may not be, but you'll find some really good agents. Seeing as we've only got 3.5 minutes left, Zaid, is there anything else you want to ask me?
No, I think it's been a great show. And you've answered questions that I didn't have the answers for.
Okay.
I'm hoping that a few people are going to
I mean, there's
play the show back and listen, because especially the first half of this show is a very valuable. lesson to people if they want to learn about property development?
Well, yeah, that's as I said,
Sorry,
the
building a property
investment,
portfolio. Yeah, sorry.
the types of investment that I know about is residential and commercial lettings, buy to lets, property development. I mean, we've done some property developments as well, but we're buying land and building and then renting them out. Uh, we've even bought properties where we've seen land on this, there's some more extra land where we've then developed that land. We've had the house, kept the house, but then developed the land with more property. Again, that's a good way because you're technically not paying for that land because you're buying it with the house. So then that land it comes to you free, whereas a building plot nowadays is what 80 grand minimum, in the cheapest of places. So, um, that's another way. Um, People buy properties to do open sell. That's another way of it's not investment per se, but it's in the property field. Buy, do it up, sell it, or buy, flip it. I know a lot of people who go around looking for cheap property, do the deal, put it in auction, sell it. Some they make profit on, some they don't. But overall in the year, it's what's in the bank that counts. So there's various ways, and so much I can speak to you about on that. To be fair, um, so whilst I'm talking about property, another thing from the budget was the capital gains tax.
Yeah,
Now I don't know whether you know this, but there's a reduction. There's a reduction proposed
yeah.
for from 28% capital gains to 24 for sale of residential property. So that's welcomed. I suppose only 4%, but that's still it's
How
welcomed.
long how long we got before the show finishes?
We've only got a minute.
A minute. Yeah. Thank
No,
thank you for
so
having me on.
right, guys. So next week, I will hopefully get someone. Either I will get more immigration advice on, which I think there was a lot that we covered last week, but still loads of updates that we need to give you, or I will look at wills, probate, and trusts because wills are very important. It's part of Islam as well. So I'll get that sorted for next week, and inshallah we will see you. Um, Zaid, thank you for coming, and look forward to listening to your show shortly with Sister Alvina. Um, and Allah Hafiz. Speak to you guys next week. I've. Why is he not moving? Gone.